Thanks for listening to the Living in Salida podcast. I'm your host, Monica McCarthy, a realtor who specializes in Salida, Colorado and surrounding areas. If you liked this podcast, please share it with a friend. I'm trying to spread the word, and your help with this is greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review if you're on a platform that allows that. If you're interested in learning more about Salida and surrounding areas, you can go ahead and hop onto my YouTube channel, also called Living in Salida, where I have a ton of videos about the real estate market here, pros and cons about living in the area, and so much more. And lastly, if you or someone you know is interested in being interviewed on this podcast, please email me at livinginsalida@gmail.com and tell me a little bit about yourself and why you think you'd be a good fit for the Living in Salida podcast. I greatly appreciate you listening and have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Living in Salida podcast. I am your host, Monica McCarthy, a realtor that specializes in Salida, Colorado and surrounding areas. Today I have Sarah Gartzman. She is what some would call a local celebrity. Her and her husband, Rob, are business owners in Salida, and they do a lot of support for the Salida community. I'm going to list off some of those things here. They own the Sweeties Sandwich Shop and the Biker and the Baker, which is an upscale dessert and wine bar, two very successful and beloved restaurants in Salida, and they've both earned numerous Best of Salida awards over the years, including Best Dessert, Best Sandwich, and Best Chef, Sarah here. They previously owned Mo Burrito, another wonderful restaurant in town that they sold to a longtime employee a few years ago. And they have a baking kit company called Hey Sweetie that features some of the popular recipes from their bakery. And most recently, and we'll be talking about this some today, they're starting to build a workforce housing concept called the Flour Mill. Sarah is a professional chef, a mother of 2 kids, and a vibrant member of our Salida community. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. That was the best bio ever.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
You don't have a bio online, so I had to kind of just glean from like my sources.
That was amazing. Maybe I can use it for something else.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
You wrote it way better than me. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being with us. So, where I wanted to start with you is where I start with everybody. How did you end up in this lovely town of Salida?
I ended up in Salida because my husband is a big mountain biker, and he started coming up here about 15 years ago and riding bikes on the crest. Okay. And he wouldn't even come into town. He'd just camp up there with his buddies and ride bikes, and came into town after a few times of coming up here, down here.
Down here. From where?
From Denver and Boulder. Oh. We lived on the Front Range for about 10 years before we moved here. Okay. We're originally from Chicago.
Gotcha.
But he came into town. He was like, man, my girlfriend's going to like this cute little town. And he was right. I was totally sold. Like the second I was here, I was like, this is the place.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but this is the place.
Okay. You just had a feeling. And what year was that?
That was probably 2009.
Okay.
When you first came up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you came up here for a few years before you made the move, right? Okay.
And then we moved in 2012.
In 2012. Okay.
Yep.
So what caused you to finally because there's the difference between liking it and living here.
That is correct. Very different states. So we'd been coming up here for a few years, like on long weekends. And then we were walking downtown one day, and there was a big sign in our former location of Sweeties. Yeah. It wasn't called Sweeties then. It was called the Downtown Bakery, and a big for sale sign in the window. Mm. And Rob was like, you should buy that place. And
not we, but you.
Yeah, you. Okay. And I was like very caught off guard. I was like, absolutely not. And we just kind of started thinking about it. It sounded kind of crazy at first, and then we decided to go for it together.
Okay.
Not as a individual human, but as a team.
That seems a little bit more manageable, right?
I mean, I don't know what we were thinking some days still. But
it's bold.
Yeah, it was very bold.
Because you were already a chef at that point, right?
I was already a chef. I've worked in kitchens my whole professional career pretty
Okay.
much and in the food industry. So I was very experienced in the field, but I never really managed anything or
Okay.
I was never the boss. So it was a little shocking.
Yeah.
And then Rob had never worked in a kitchen until his first day was the first day we opened Sweeties.
Okay. So, what was he doing before that?
He was a bike mechanic and
Okay.
he had just graduated from business school.
Okay, so he had a business background.
Mhm.
Okay, so it was complimentary, it sounds like.
We've found out that we have very complementary skill sets.
It sounds like it.
Thank goodness. Otherwise, it would be stressful. More
Yeah.
stressful. It's already stressful.
Sure, yeah. There's a few things going on. So that was the origin of Sweeties.
Pretty much, yeah.
On that location, I remember that location on F Street.
Mhm.
Because you guys moved a few years ago to both of your businesses to combine them together.
Yep. So
Right.
our location was on between First and Second. Our first Sweeties location was between First and Second on F Street,
Mhm.
and then the Biker and the Baker was around the corner on First Street. We were connected in the alley, like our back doors were connected, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of sneaky. We didn't have to build like a real kitchen at the first Biker and the Baker. We'd just bake everything at Sweeties and then run it through the alley.
Yeah.
And that was just getting to not be feasible or very cost efficient. So we started building the new Sweeties and Biker and the Baker. We broke ground just before COVID started at the first week of March 2020.
That's right. Okay. Yeah,
And then we finished at the end of the year.
that's right. Yeah, your new location is gorgeous too.
Thank
so.
you. Thanks.
Lovely.
Thanks.
Well, so yeah, you guys have evolved a lot over the years being here. But yeah, so what are, to talk about Salida a little bit more, what are some of the things you said that you like? He said, I guess you were his girlfriend at the time.
I was his girlfriend.
His girlfriend would like this place. But, you know, what about, was it the community, the outside? Like, what about it do you feel like made you like it, was drawn to it?
You know, obviously I thought it was beautiful and all of the recreation and the trails being so close. It's like it seemed too perfect. And then once I started to talk to people and get to know people that were involved in the community, I was like, man, like this is heaven that people are actually this nice and kind and generous and helpful. And I just like saw my life improving so much and maybe being able to be a better person by not living in the city and having genuine relationships with everybody who lived here. So that was really the thing that drew me to Salida.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way immensely. Like the people are what make this town amazing.
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. It does have like a warm.
Yeah, you just feel good. Like when other people smile at you walking down the street, it's really genuine and really heartfelt. It's hard not to kind of get warm and fuzzy all over.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it makes you want to kind of return that favor.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like you guys do that.
I hope we try really hard. I mean, there are definitely tense moments, times that we're grumpy.
Of course. Well, you're human still.
Yep, we are still human, but we try really hard to pay it forward all the time as much as we can.
Yeah. And I know another variable is, you know, so your kids grew up here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
They were both born here.
Yeah. So, what is your perspective on raising kids in Salida?
You know, I was really nervous to have kids here before we did, just because I grew up in the city. It's very diverse and a lot of culture and a lot of activities and things happening and modes of transportation and like just the hustle and bustle of it. So I think the idea of having kids in the mountains in a small town just kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Okay. Because you grew up in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's super different.
Super different. Like we didn't play outside that often. And if we did, I mean, it was like a scheduled soccer practice and you drove there and your parents waited for you and then picked you up. It wasn't super safe to just hang out at parks. And it was just a different, not that that's bad. Like
Sure.
I love that. And it's just really different here.
Yeah.
So I think I was just nervous that it was my kids were going to have such a different upbringing from how I grew up, which is great and just scary because I hadn't done it before.
Yeah.
I mean, it turned out to be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Our kids are so happy, and I love watching them grow up here. I think it's just such a special place to watch your kids gain this like type of inner confidence and bravery because everybody knows them and because they know everybody else and they know that they have to be good people in the world. Someone's always watching.
That's true.
But they also know that like if they needed something, they could, if they crashed their bike somewhere outside a store, they could go in and talk to the owner and ask to use their phone or they would know them. And so the sense of like safety, I think, gives kids this like independence and confidence, and it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. And your kids, I think because they're often at your places of business, right? And a lot of people
they're
there.
around all the time.
Yeah, you have cookies named after them and all that.
That is true.
So, I mean, the community knows who they are when they go somewhere.
Yeah,
so
and it's not just them.
Sure,
I feel like so many kids know so many different people, no matter who your family is or where you grow up. So it's really special that that those kids, like these kids, have that opportunity to be. It just like their sense of self is it seems so much more apparent than kids that kind of get lost in the city or people don't remember them or don't stop if they fell off their bike or something. Yeah. It just feels really different here.
Yeah, or don't feel safe at the park without their parents there.
Totally. Right? Yeah. It's like really great that, our kids want to ride their bike home from school and to school by themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel good about them doing that. I'm like,
how old are they now?
They're in 4th and 5th grade, so 9 and 10.
Gotcha.
Which I think is really brave.
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't be the case in a lot of places, like you said. Yeah.
Nope.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
So, as being such an integral part of the community, we talked about kids, but you're also an employer and you get to see both locals who go to your places of establishment and visitors. And you just I feel like you get a good insight into the community. So I guess talk a little bit more about it from that perspective, being an employer and seeing this community here. What's your take on the community?
Well, we have a wide range, I'd say, of employees. We have between 40 and 50 employees, depending on the time of year.
Okay.
And so we see middle school kids that come and work for us in the summer through people that are retired and wanting to work with us on the weekends for fun.
Yeah.
So we see it all, and I love that, especially about our businesses. Like, we hire kind of quirky humans, and we really embrace that and love them. Like, I feel like everybody should be included and have a place wherever they want to work. So we really try to make it work for everybody, and I love that, especially like coming from the city where things are definitely a little bit more multicultural in all different ways. I love seeing how different humans can be and how they can all work together as a team. And so I feel like our staff is definitely a little microcosm of the community in Salida, and I love that.
Yeah, it is.
You just have to look for differences in different ways in everybody and just appreciate where everybody is.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's see. So you guys, I'm trying to decide what direction I want to go because you cover a lot of different bases here. So as a business, so you decided to buy this business kind of on a whim, it sounds like.
Pretty much. We had no idea what was going to happen.
But it's grown and expanded, and then you've opened 2 others and sold one. So what is it like to be a business owner in Salida, besides the employee piece, but just being able to do that?
It's a lot of pressure.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, people don't show up. I don't have a backup. It's just us making it happen. And I mean, we invested everything to be able to do this and
Gotcha.
make all of our businesses work. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure. We don't have a choice. We have to do a good job.
Yeah.
But we don't have a backup plan.
Well, yeah, but you're all in. And
Yep.
I mean, you guys have taken some amazing risks too, and you're clearly on the growth end of things. Like you're not
Totally.
still in the same building with just a few things going on.
We've been growing for the past almost 13 years. Every month we've had exponential growth.
So it sounds like
years.
you're doing something right.
I hope so. We just like show up and try hard every
You're
day.
so wonderfully humble, Sarah.
Oh, thanks. I don't know. I just feel like I'm super average and I just show up and I don't make too many plans because that seems to get in the way. If there's a crisis, I'm available to handle it. If there's a leak, if someone doesn't show up, if someone ruins the bread, I just show up and fix the problem and move on.
Yeah, because I mean, you're in there baking in the wee hours some days. Like you're not just, your employees aren't just running it. Like you guys are in there making sandwiches.
As much as I'd love someone else to run it, and we have a great staff and tons of help, we're always gonna have a presence.
Yeah, kind of got that. One thing I love about, so Sarah has an amazing Instagram. Let's just plug it right now. Do you want people to follow? What is your Instagram?
At Sweetie Sandwich Shop.
Yeah. So she does some dance videos.
Yes, I do.
And I just think it's worth mentioning. I mean, we're on the radio, so we're not going to recreate it. Although I would meet you one morning at 3 a.m. to
Anytime you are welcome.
But
I'll be there on Sunday morning.
So because it seems like you bring, like a positive vibe to this grueling work. I mean, making bread in the wee hours of the morning while dancing, right?
I feel like sometimes work sucks. Whatever your job is. Like you could really let it get the best of you no matter what your position is, what your job is, what your role is. So I don't want everybody else to be in a bad mood. So if I'm going to take one for the team, I'll do it anytime. I will make people laugh and it puts not only everybody else, like my team, makes the mood a little bit lighter and everybody works a little bit harder, but also it puts me in a good mood too because I work every day. So I don't want to be in a place where I'm like, here, this is the worst. I want to be happy when I go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want it to be a fun place.
Yeah, well, and like, you're coming up with like a different menu every week for Biker and the Baker. We haven't talked about that one as much, but it's the best dessert in town. Voted that like every year. Whenever somebody asks, what's a good date night place? I mean, that's the place. It's the wine and dessert bar. You also have really good brunch, by the way.
Thank you.
It's always a culinary masterpiece. These desserts that you come up with every week. So how do you even come up with that?
That's a good question. And I really don't have a good answer. Something that's like innate inside of me is that I'm always thinking about weird shit all the time. I'm inspired by things outside. I'm inspired by things at home. I'm inspired by things from my childhood and my background, comfort foods, things I like to do outside, other places I travel. Like I'm always dreaming up something weird.
You are. It's always so creative. And has anything ever been repeated? I mean,
there have been a few repeats.
Okay.
But generally no. And even if I make something the same, I'll do it differently the next time. Like I'll taste it and learn from it and then try to make it better the next time.
I mean, that's what's cool even as a local because, there's only so many places in our small town. Going back and knowing you're getting something different on the menu is quite fun, I have to say.
Thank you.
So props to you for
I don't think everybody feels that way, so thank you for saying that.
Like, wait, this is weird this week, or I don't know.
I think some people are like, oh, but I wanted this other thing that I had like a year and 2 months ago. Why don't you have that? And they are really disappointed. And I think,
well, you can't
dining out. That is true. I'm trying to work on that every day with good boundaries. Like I can only make so many people happy, but it's hard at restaurants and people that are paying for an experience with food.
Sure.
Sometimes people have really, really clear expectations and they don't know how to communicate that. And our expectations don't always align, and that doesn't always make a pleasant experience for people. And I realized that, and we're just trying our best. And we're just being authentic. And like, I was really in the mood for purple velvet cake this weekend, but not everybody else might be. So here we are.
Here we are. So choose something else if you don't like it.
That's right.
That's fine. Well, I think that's cool. So I guess shifting gears a little bit, we alluded to this at the beginning. You guys are working on a workforce housing concept called the Flour Mill. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So for the past probably 8 or 9 years, Rob, my husband, has been a huge advocate of affordable housing, attainable housing in Salida, just because we see the demand and the need and the reliance on housing that the workforce can afford to live in.
Sure.
And he's proposed lots of things over the years and tries to help with lots of projects. And in the end, I think he started to realize if we didn't do something about this personally, maybe nothing is ever going to be done. And so we bought a piece of property a couple years ago, and since then we've been working on building the flour mill, which will be 9 single-family homes and then 69 one-bedroom and studio units.
Wow.
On 2 acres.
Wow.
So we're trying really hard to move through all the hoops. There's a lot of things to juggle, and I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. The process is so overwhelming.
I bet. Yeah, no, I know.
But we're getting there, and we're making it happen. And Rob especially is doing such a good job working with the city and different financing options.
Okay.
Nothing like this has ever been done before. This is like a really unique concept that we kind of dreamed up, just like the desserts.
No, it's very creative.
It's just hard. There's no reference or manual about how to do something like this because it's never been done. So hopefully it will work out, and more humans will have a place to live here. I just feel really passionate about serving more of an underserved population in Salida. I just feel like those are my people, and I want to be here for them as much as they're here for us. So
absolutely,
that's our goal for sure.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you saw a need and you're moving forward with it.
Yeah.
So, do I dare ask where we are on that plan?
We're really close to hopefully breaking ground within the next few months.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you ahead of time, so
no, that's okay.
It's a surprise answer for me too.
If all goes well, hopefully within a few months we'll be able to break ground.
Okay, that's great. And then I guess slow roll on those.
Then there's 3 phases of building.
Okay.
The single family homes will be first, if all goes well.
Sure.
And then those are projected to take about 9 to 15 months to build.
Okay.
And then once those are done, that's kind of a complicated project because we have to put in all the infrastructure for the other units kind of behind it. So we're going to work with those, make sure that we can get all the foundation in, water, sewer, sidewalks, the open space areas that need to be there. And then once we have all of that in, the units will go up pretty quickly. But the first phase is the biggest hurdle.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you're going to start on that soon. Well, I think that's huge for our community because it is needed. We do need more places, especially I'm sure you see it firsthand.
It's heartbreaking sometimes.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you for what you do for the community. Anything to add? So if somebody's interested in being in Salida as somebody who came here, and I always say, if you come here, contribute positively to this community. And I think you guys definitely have. So what are your views on somebody coming here and, I don't know, starting a business, being part of the community?
I think I would encourage anybody to start a business if they're here, no matter what age you are or what stage you are in life. We work with high school kids that are starting businesses.
Oh, nice.
we've mentored a lot of kids from CMC that are in the high school and take classes at CMC. And
Okay.
it's really cool to see those kids start to be a part of the community in a different way other than a kid living here. So that's kind of off topic, but
No, I think that's great to bring up. Yeah.
really contributing positively to the culture and the work ethic here. If you are coming here and you want to start a business, I can almost guarantee you'll be welcomed with open arms because everybody here is really supportive and looking for new ideas and really inspired by other people that are doing their thing and kind of sharing their gifts with the community.
Yeah.
But definitely be prepared to work and show up every day because it's hard to recover if you piss people off. Like if you don't show up or if you...
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
If
yeah.
you're closed,
Be reliable.
if you're inconsistent, that is hard to recover from here just because there isn't like a new market that you can tap into if you...
Gotcha. Yeah.
Ruffled someone's feathers. Like word travels fast and...
That's good advice.
You just really have to be willing to show up and take it on if you're gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's good advice.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.